I'd sent the invitations 3 months in advance, written in elegant calligraphy, because Mom always said digital invites were tacky. I'd even called twice to confirm they'd received them, enduring lengthy conversations about my sister's latest ventures before I could mention my own celebration. "Of course we'll be there, sweetie," Mom had said distractedly. "Oh, did your sister tell you about her new lifestyle blog? She's really going to make it big this time." The morning of my party, I was arranging the catering when my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Emergency came up. Can't make it. Your sister needs us for moral support." Rain check. I stood in my newly renovated kitchen, surrounded by carefully chosen appetizers and wine, staring at those words. Your sister needs us. The story of my life in 4 words. Then my phone pinged again. A notification from my sister's live stream. There they were, my entire family, gathered at the mall's luxury wing. Mom and Dad were beaming as my sister twirled in designer clothes, their credit cards ready for yet another investment in her future. To new beginnings, my sister squealed in the video, the camera panning to show our parents nodding proudly. "Thanks, Mom and Dad, for always being there when I need retail therapy." I watched as they toasted with smoothies from the overpriced juice bar, my mother gushing about how important it was to support family in their moments of need. The same mother who had just texted that they couldn't make my housewarming due to an emergency. But I didn't cry. I didn't even get angry. Instead, I smiled, because I knew something they didn't. 2 weeks earlier, I'd been appointed as the youngest director at Sterling Financial, the bank that held not only their mortgage, but also their business loans. The same bank where their mortgage renewal application was currently sitting on my desk, flagged for review due to some concerning patterns in their payment history. What they didn't know was that while they'd been funding my sister's endless stream of failed ventures and shopping sprees, I'd been quietly climbing the corporate ladder. Starting as an intern, working my way up through the ranks, earning every promotion through merit rather than family connections. When the director position opened up, I was the natural choice. My colleagues knew me as the level-headed analyst who could spot financial patterns others missed. They didn't know that I'd learned those skills by watching my parents' financial decisions and doing exactly the opposite. My phone buzzed again, another live stream notification. My sister was now showing off her emergency shopping haul to her followers. "Sometimes you just have to prioritize self-care," she giggled, surrounded by designer bags. I picked up my own phone and opened my banking app, looking at the notification that had arrived that morning. Mortgage review meeting. Miller family property. Status: critical review required. The party went on without them. My colleagues came, my mentors, neighbors who'd watched me save and plan for years. People who'd actually supported my journey. "Your family missed something special," my best friend said, helping me clean up later. "Their loss." "It's fine," I replied, wrapping up leftover food I'd donate tomorrow. "They had a family emergency." She snorted. "Yeah, I saw that emergency on Instagram. Premium retail therapy. Real crisis." I just smiled, thinking of the mortgage review meeting scheduled for Monday morning. Everything happens for a reason. The next few weeks passed quietly. I settled into my new home, focused on work, and waited. I knew it was only a matter of time before the other shoe dropped. It happened sooner than I expected. The mandatory mortgage review I'd scheduled revealed exactly what I'd suspected: years of irregular payments, multiple refinancings to cover business expenses, and a pattern of using their home equity like an ATM to fund my sister's latest whims. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Mom's voice was tight with worry. Honey, are you busy? We need to talk about something important. I put my coffee down, settling into my office chair. What's up? The bank. Sterling Financial. They're saying there are issues with our mortgage renewal. They want to do a full financial review. Your father's devastated. This house has been in the family for 30 years. I could hear the desperation in her voice. What would you want me to do about it? Well, she hesitated. You work in finance, don't you? Maybe you could talk to someone. See what strings you could pull. It's family, after all. Family, like my housewarming party. Actually, I said slowly, I know exactly why your mortgage is under review. You do? Oh, honey, that's perfect. Can you help fix it? Your sister's counting on using the house for her new lifestyle coaching business. I let the silence stretch for a moment. I'm the one who flagged it for review, Mom. I'm the new director of mortgage operations at Sterling. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, what do you mean? You're the director? Since when? Why didn't you tell us? I've been working my way up for years, I said calmly. You know, all those boring financial meetings and late nights at the office you never asked about. They paid off. But this is our home. We've had this mortgage for decades, and you've been mismanaging it for just as long. The refinancing, the missed payments, the equity withdrawals for my sister's businesses, it all adds up. I could hear her calling to Dad in the background, the phone rustling as she presumably put it on speaker. Sweetheart, Dad's voice now, using his reasonable tone. This is a family matter. We need to discuss this as a family. Like we discussed my housewarming party, I asked softly. The one you missed for an emergency shopping spree? Another silence. That's different, Mom stuttered. Your sister needed. My sister always needs something, I interrupted, and I'm always expected to understand. Well, now I need something. I need you to understand what responsible financial management looks like. But what about family? Mom's voice was rising. What about loyalty? What about my achievements, Mom? Were they ever important enough for loyalty? I could hear them conferring in whispers, probably trying to figure out how to manipulate the situation. Finally, Dad came back on. Look, we know we haven't always been attentive, but we're family. Maybe we could work something out? Your sister's latest business plan is really promising. Stop, I said firmly. This isn't about revenge. This is about accountability. The bank will conduct its review. Your mortgage will be evaluated based on its merits, not family ties. And maybe, just maybe, you'll finally understand what it means to face consequences. You're being heartless. Mom burst out. After everything we've done for you. I laughed then. I couldn't help it. Everything you've done for me? Like what? Exactly. Missing my college graduation because Sis had a fashion show? Skipping my promotion celebration because she needed help with her blog? Or maybe you mean missing my housewarming because she needed new clothes? Those were different circumstances. You're right, I agreed. They were different, because all those times I stayed quiet. I understood. I stepped back. But not this time. This time, I'm doing my job, and my job is to protect the bank's interests. We're your parents. Mom was crying now. How can you do this to us? The same way you've done it to me for 27 years, with remarkable ease. I ended the call before they could respond, turning my attention to the stack of mortgage reviews on my desk. Their file wasn't the only one that needed attention, after all. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making a scene or demanding attention. Sometimes it's simply doing your job, especially when that job gives you the power to enforce the accountability others have always avoided. My phone buzzed again, an email from my sister. How dare you threaten our family home? Mom and Dad are devastated. You've always been jealous of me, and now you're using your little bank job to get revenge. Well, guess what? Family is more important than your precious rules and regulations. I forwarded the email to our legal department, adding it to the growing file of documentation. Then I opened their mortgage review file and began my analysis. Every withdrawal, every missed payment, every refinancing to fund another of my sister's failures. All of it would be examined under the cold light of professional scrutiny. Let them learn what it feels like to be evaluated on merit rather than family ties. Let them understand what accountability really means. And maybe, just maybe, they'd finally realize that the daughter they'd always overlooked had become someone they couldn't afford to ignore. The morning after my phone call with my parents, I arrived at my office to find 17 missed calls and an inbox full of emotional manipulation. My sister had apparently spent the night rallying her social media followers against toxic banking practices destroying families. If only her followers knew those toxic practices meant actually expecting people to pay their mortgages. Your 9 a.m. is here, my assistant announced, and your sister is live streaming from the bank lobby. I pulled up the security feed. Sure enough, there was my sister, phone held high, dramatically narrating her fight against corporate greed to her followers. Our parents stood behind her, looking uncomfortable, but, as usual, offering no resistance to her theatrics. Today, we're confronting the heartless system that's threatening to tear apart our family home, she declared to her phone. And we won't leave until we get answers. I pressed the intercom. Send security to escort them to the conference room. Quietly. 10 minutes later, I walked into the conference room to find my sister still live streaming, our parents sitting silently beside her. Oh, look, everyone, she exclaimed to her phone. Here comes the corporate sellout now. I sat down, placed their mortgage file on the table, and waited. Are you done? I asked when she finally paused for breath. Done? I'm just getting started. My followers. Your followers can't help you with this, I interrupted, opening the file. But these numbers tell an interesting story. Shall we review it? Mom shifted uncomfortably. Maybe you should stop recording, dear. No way. The people need to see. The people need to see how you've used our parents' home equity as your personal ATM. I asked quietly, because that's what these numbers show. She faltered, lowering her phone slightly. In the past 5 years, I continued, there have been 7 equity withdrawals totaling $320,000. Shall we go through each one? The failed yoga studio in 2021. The luxury lifestyle consulting venture in 2022. The healing crystals import business last year. Those were legitimate business investments. She protested, but her phone was now pointed at the floor, which all failed within months, leaving our parents with additional debt. Not to mention the regular transfers from their accounts to cover your emergency shopping sprees. Dad cleared his throat. Now, sweetheart, your sister's businesses just needed time to what? Fail more spectacularly. I opened another folder. The bank's analysis shows that without these withdrawals, the mortgage would have been paid off 3 years ago. Instead, it's now underwater, with payments increasingly late or incomplete. Mom's face had gone pale. We had no choice. She needed. No, Mom. She wanted. There's a difference. I turned to my sister, still streaming. I'm sure your followers would love to hear these numbers. She finally turned off her phone. Here's the situation, I continued. The bank's review has flagged this mortgage as high risk. Standard procedure would be to call in a loan. You can't, Mom gasped. Actually, I can, but I'm offering an alternative. I pulled out another document, a restructuring plan, new payment schedule, no more equity withdrawals, and mandatory financial counseling. Financial counseling, my sister scoffed. We're not children. No, you're worse. You're adults who've never faced consequences. I pushed the document toward our parents. Sign this, and we can save the house. Continue enabling her, and you'll lose everything. This is blackmail, she hissed. No, this is banking. Welcome to the real world, where actions have consequences. Our parents were reading the document, their faces growing more serious with each page. All these restrictions, Dad murmured, are standard for high-risk mortgages. You're actually getting preferential terms, given your payment history. Mom looked up, tears in her eyes. We never meant to. To what? Sacrifice your financial security for her whims? To miss every important moment in my life because she needed attention. To end up here, at risk of losing your home. You're enjoying this, my sister accused. Playing the powerful banker, getting your revenge. Wrong again. I'm doing my job. The same job you've mocked as boring and beneath you for years. The job that now gives me the power to either save or sink our parents' home. We'll go to another bank, she declared. With this credit history? Good luck. Besides, no bank will refinance while you're living there, draining their resources. That got their attention. What do you mean, while she's living there? Mom asked. The restructuring plan requires her to move out. No more using the house as collateral for her schemes. No more emergency equity withdrawals. She needs to stand on her own feet. But where will I go? My sister demanded. That's not the bank's concern, or mine. She turned to our parents, expecting them to protest, to defend her as they always had. But they were still reading the document, their faces showing the first signs of understanding. Mom? Dad? You're not actually considering this, are you? Dad looked up, and for the first time in my life, I saw him look at her with something other than indulgence. We have to, he said quietly. We can't lose the house. But I'm your daughter. So am I reminded them. The one you never had to worry about. The one who made it on her own. And now, I'm the one who can save your home if you finally set some boundaries. Mom signed first, her hand shaking slightly. Dad followed. My sister stormed out, already starting another live stream about family betrayal. What happens now? Mom asked. Now you learn to say no, to her and to yourselves. I gathered the papers. The counseling starts next week. Don't miss it, or the deal's off. As they stood to leave, Mom paused. Your housewarming. We should have been there. Yes, you should have. But you made your choice, just like I made mine. To punish us? Dad asked. No, to succeed to spite you. There's a difference. After they left, I reviewed their signed documents. Years of enabling and avoidance ended with a few signatures. My phone buzzed, my sister's latest live stream notification. I blocked her number. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about being the person strong enough to enforce the boundaries others never could. And sometimes being the boring one, the reliable one, the one they never had to worry about. gives you exactly the power you need to finally make them worry. My assistant appeared with the afternoon schedule. Your sister's still in the lobby, threatening to call the media. Let her. The math doesn't lie, and neither do bank records. I turned back to my work, knowing that sometimes the most satisfying victory isn't in grand confrontations, but in quiet accountability. Let them learn what it means to live without a safety net. Let them understand what responsibility feels like. And maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see that the daughter they'd overlooked had become someone they couldn't afford to ignore, literally and figuratively. 1 month into the new mortgage arrangement, the changes were already visible. My sister had moved out, though not without a final, dramatic Instagram live session about toxic family dynamics and financial abuse. Our parents, for the first time in decades, were actually making their payments on time. The financial counseling sessions were revealing truths they'd long ignored. Years of enabling, of treating their home equity like an endless resource, had left them far more vulnerable than they'd realized. The counselors' reports showed they were finally beginning to understand the depth of their financial mismanagement. Your parents' latest session was enlightening, my assistant said, placing a report on my desk. They brought in all your sister's business proposals from the last 5 years. The counselor estimated they've invested over $500,000 in failed ventures. I wasn't surprised. I'd watched each scheme unfold from a distance. The luxury pet spa, the cryptocurrency coaching, the bespoke healing crystal jewelry line. Each one launched with grand promises and ended with quietly withdrawn equity from our parents' home. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Can we meet? Not about the mortgage. Just lunch. It was the first time she'd reached out for something other than financial matters since the restructuring. I considered ignoring it, but professional detachment had served its purpose. Perhaps it was time for a different kind of accountability. We met at a modest diner, a far cry from the upscale restaurants they used to frequent with my sister. Mom looked different, less polished, more real somehow. Your father and I have been doing a lot of thinking, she said after ordering coffee. The counseling, it's opened our eyes to things we didn't want to see. Like what? Like how we've been throwing good money after bad. Like how we've enabled your sister's worst impulses. Like how we've... She paused, tears forming. Like how we've ignored your achievements while celebrating her failures. I kept my face neutral. That must be difficult to realize. The counselor asked us to list all the important events we've missed in both our daughters' lives. When we wrote them down, she wiped her eyes. Your college graduation, your first promotion, your housewarming. We missed everything because your sister always had some crisis. And now she's living in a shared apartment, working as a social media manager for a small company. She's furious with us for cutting her off. But the counselor says that's healthy, that we need to let her face reality. I nodded, remembering my own reality checks over the years. It's not easy, is it? Growing up. No, Mom agreed. For any of us. She reached into her bag. I found these while cleaning out the home office. Thought you might want them. She handed me a stack of newspaper clippings, my academic achievements, professional announcements, company newsletters, all carefully cut out and saved, yet never acknowledged. You kept these? I did. Never showed them to anyone. Never celebrated them properly. Just tucked them away while focusing on your sister's latest drama. She smiled sadly. The quiet daughter. The one we never had to worry about. Except we should have worried, shouldn't we? about taking you for granted, about missing all these moments. I touched the clippings gently. Why show me these now? Because the counselor asked us another question. What would your lives be like if you'd invested as much in your successful daughter as you did in the struggling one? We couldn't answer. It hurt too much. My phone buzzed. Another notification from my sister's social media. She was promoting some new venture, promising her followers the secrets to financial freedom through authentic living. Mom saw the notification and sighed. She still doesn't get it, does she? That actions have consequences. No, I agreed. But that's not my problem anymore. Or yours. The counselor says we need to establish boundaries. That helping her constantly wasn't really helping at all. Mom looked down at her coffee. We're learning. Slowly. And Dad. He's adjusting. The mandatory budget reviews are hard for him. All those years of writing checks without questioning. It's a big change. I pulled out my tablet, showing her their latest mortgage statement. But the payments are on time. That's progress. Yes, she smiled slightly. Our first priority now. No more equity withdrawals for emergency shopping sprees or business ventures. As if on cue, my phone buzzed again. A text from my sister. Mom and Dad are being so cruel. I just need a small loan for my new business idea. Can't you talk to them? Family should help family. I showed Mom the message. She straightened her shoulders. What are you going to tell her? Nothing. That's not my role anymore. I'm her sister, not her banker. Mom nodded slowly. And I'm her mother, not her ATM. That's what the counselor keeps telling us. It's hard, but we're trying. We finished lunch, the conversation turning to lighter topics. As we were leaving, Mom paused. Your father and we'd like to come see your house sometime, if that's okay. No drama, no emergencies, just seeing where our daughter lives. I considered this. Sunday dinner, 6 o'clock. Don't be late. We won't, she promised. No more missed moments. Back at the office, I reviewed their file again. The numbers were improving, slowly but steadily. My assistant brought in another report. Your sister's latest social media metrics. Her follower count is dropping since she can't post about luxury shopping sprees anymore. I closed the report without reading it. Not relevant to their mortgage status. No, she agreed. But interesting how quickly influence fades when it's not funded by other people's money. That evening, as I worked late, Dad called. The counselor suggested we write letters, he said awkwardly, to both our daughters. About our regrets, our hopes. Would you be willing to read mine? I thought about the newspaper clippings Mom had kept, about quiet achievements and loud disappointments, about growth and accountability and second chances. Yes, I said, I'll read it. Sometimes revenge isn't about punishment at all. Sometimes it's about creating space for change, about forcing people to face their choices and grow from them. My phone buzzed one last time. Mom confirming Sunday dinner. We'll be there, she wrote. On time. No emergencies. I smiled, thinking about newspaper clippings and mortgage payments and family dinners. About quiet daughters and loud ones. About enabling and accountability. About growth and change and possibility. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people face the consequences of their choices while you continue building your own success story. And sometimes, just sometimes, those consequences create space for something new to grow in the ruins of what was broken. 6 months after implementing the mortgage restructuring plan, I sat in my office reviewing the final counseling report. My parents had completed their mandatory financial education sessions, maintained perfect payment records, and most importantly, hadn't given in to my sister's increasingly desperate attempts to access their equity. The transformation was remarkable. Their credit score had improved by nearly 100 points. They'd started a modest retirement fund, and perhaps most significantly, they'd learned to say no to my sister, to unnecessary expenses, and to their own enabling instincts. My sister, meanwhile, had gone through several phases of adjustment. First came the angry social media campaigns about financial abuse and toxic family dynamics. When those failed to generate the expected sympathy, she tried guilt-tripping our parents with daily calls about her struggles. Finally, faced with actual adult responsibilities for the first time, she got a real job. Though she still described herself as a CEO in transition, on her dramatically reduced social media presence. Sunday dinners had become a regular thing. No drama, no emergencies, just quiet conversations about real life. My parents had even started asking about my work, showing genuine interest in understanding finance and investment. Your sister called again. Mom mentioned during one such dinner. She wants us to co-sign for an apartment in the luxury building downtown. And? I asked, curious about their response. We said no, Dad replied, a mix of sadness and determination in his voice. Told her she needs to live within her actual means, not her imagined ones. How did she take it? Posted a 2-hour live stream about toxic parenting. Mom sighed. But we didn't watch it. The counselor says that's progress too. My phone buzzed. An email from my sister. I know you're behind Mom and Dad's new financial responsibility kick. Congratulations on ruining our family. Hope your big banking job makes you happy while your sister struggles. I showed it to my parents. A few months ago, this would have triggered a crisis. Now they just shook their heads. The counselor helped us see something, Dad said quietly. We weren't doing her any favors by solving all her problems. We were just making sure she'd never learn to solve them herself. And what about me? I asked, the question I'd held back for months finally surfacing. Mom reached across the table, touching my hand. We failed you differently. By taking you for granted. By assuming you were fine because you didn't demand attention. By missing all your moments because we were so caught up in her chaos. But we're learning, Dad added. Late, but learning. That night, after they left, I reviewed their mortgage file one last time. In 6 months, they'd gone from high risk to stable. From enabling parents to responsible adults. From missing my moments to creating new ones. My sister had posted another live stream, this one about rebuilding after family betrayal. Her followers, once numbering in the thousands, had dwindled to a few hundred. Reality, it seemed, wasn't as entertaining as drama. My assistant brought in a final report. Your parents' latest credit review. They qualify for standard terms now. No more special monitoring needed. I signed the paperwork, officially ending the restructuring period. They'd done it. Actually followed through. Actually changed. Actually grown. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Mom. Thank you. Not for saving our house, but for forcing us to save ourselves. I smiled, thinking about consequences and growth, about quiet strength and loud weakness, about family and finance, and the intersection of both. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply standing firm, holding boundaries, and watching people either rise to meet them or fall trying. My sister might never understand that her struggles were actually privileges, funded by our parents' sacrifice and enabled by their fear of setting limits. But our parents finally understood, and maybe that was enough. I sent a brief reply to Mom's text. Sunday dinner next week? I'm thinking of buying a new house. Would like your honest opinion on the investment. Her response came quickly. We'll be there. On time. No drama. Just family. And really, that was the best revenge of all. Building something new from the ashes of what was broken, creating boundaries strong enough to protect love without enabling chaos. Sometimes the overlooked daughter, the quiet one, the reliable one, turns out to be the one who saves not just herself, but everyone else too, even if some of them never realize it.